Hey, well, the Amazing Crazy is outlining his political platform for his 2020 or 24 presidential run. So I thought I'd do the rational response. You know, so it's kind of crazy stuff. All right, the first thing he was actually right on. Yeah, we ought to be like paying people to have abortions, pay people to get sterilized, especially poor people. Got too many damn kids in the world. I think the whole idea of like paying people not to be a social liability is a good idea in principle. Like up to a subsistence living, you know, like you can make, you know, $15,000 a year as a human being just by not doing stupid things. You know, that would be a good idea. And having kids you can't take care of and you're not interested in taking care of and you have no capacity, no brain or means to take care of, is really just plain stupid. Okay, and if we have to pay people not to do it, well, let's pay people not to do it, because it's going to cost us in the long run. So yeah, I agree with him on that one. And you know, an abortion, it's bullshit. I mean, it's nothing. Come on, get real. The deers they're shooting arrows into in this community are, you know, what, 100 times more sentient, more conscious, more capable of suffering than a embryonic human. You know, we just don't got the brains when we're in that womb. Just being born, our frickin' skull gets compressed. That's why our skull isn't even together in one piece, is because it has to get smashed to get through the birth canal. I mean, we're really not conscious beings. So quit pretending. I mean, it's all a cosmetic thing. I mean, you know, really, public policy shouldn't be based on silly emotion, and that's all this abortion crap is silly emotion, when it's, of course, not religious nonsense. I mean, obviously, the religious assholes who think they have a right to take their Bible and write it into the United States law are fucking, you know, the worst. They're insulting the whole idea of a constitution, defeating its whole purpose, just destroying the whole idea of democracy.
Second thing, deregulating the economy, he suggests. You know, we should, you know, government shouldn't use private contractors. Yeah, well, that's fine as long as government, you know, isn't corrupted by a grotesque unions that are basically controlling dysfunction, exploitation, extortion. They're not public servants, they're public tyrants. And so until that's changed, I'm going to say it's better to have government employing private contractors than doing anything by itself, because it's got to fix how it does something. But I'm certainly for government being in more businesses. And the whole idea of deregulating it, deregulation only works if the deregulated companies have to compete with some minimum standard. So you have to have some nonprofit business, some honest business in the business, you know, for that to work. So, you know, screw the idea of, no, we don't need deregulated. We see what happens when they're deregulated. They cheat, they cut corners, they exploit, you know, they compromise any meaningful value for the dollar. And it's just bullshit. There has to be some mechanism to stop that. And the only way you're going to stop it is they have to compete with some kind of minimum. Either the minimum's going to be written into the law, or the minimum's got to be provided by a service provider that's competing with them. And so I think my idea of government providing seed money for non-profit businesses is much more brilliant than the idea of privatizing. Well, and the idea of deregulating. Affirmative action. So he's sort of for it when it comes to government and education, but against it, you know, when it comes to the private enterprise again. So in the realm where most people have to live, where most people do their renting and their buying, and no regulation. I mean, that's bullshit. Though this whole white-only thing, there's another asshole did a video. I won't even bother. Well, I'll link to it, just because I want to probably block everybody who subscribe to this fucker. You know, defending the fucking white-only bullshit again. Now, we can sit there and say certain things are wrong. We know that molesting kids is wrong. We know that polluting the environment is wrong. And we can say that discriminating based on race, on just class, irrelevant class distinctions is fucking wrong. We can say that. And we're not violating some fundamental principle of freedom or any other bullshit. And this is just a veil to hide bigotry. This is just a veil to hide racism. Nobody needs the right to discriminate based on race. When it comes to housing or employment or basic services. It is complete bullshit. If you're having a dinner party, we'll discriminate all the fuck you want. You want to sit there and be a racist asshole? I'm not sitting there saying you can't be. I'm not saying we have to suppress you. I mean, this whole argument that we're somehow driving the racist underground, and that if we let them free, somehow black people be so much better off. It's what a pile of shit. It'll just make it so much easier for somebody to say, well, there's no law against it, and we really don't like black people in this community, so, you know, you need not apply. I mean, it's just bullshit. Of course that would happen. It's convenient. You goddamn well know it, so it is such a fucking canard that they're hiding behind, that somehow you have this principle of freedom, that you need the freedom to act on your incredibly stupid impulses. I mean, what a pile of shit. It is plain and simple shit. I'm calling you racist because that's what you are. The only way you could contrive such nonsense is that you would have to have some sort of ulterior motive. You know, to sit there and try to veil your racism in some absolute love for absolute freedom is just plain bullshit, because you know that fucking concept doesn't even exist. Freedom is it's a bullshit word. Alright, anyway, so gay marriage, so it's for that. Sure, yeah, why not? And the idea is to basically have civil contracts. Yeah, great, they should all be civil contracts, and if you want to get married in a church and do all that, yeah, sure, that's your own discretion. Why not? Yeah, but the idea of a contract between individuals, fine. Where it goes wrong for me is saying that, oh, polygamists and all the rest of these people can also get the same contract. There's no reason for government to endorse relationships that are systemically destructive. All right? And polygamy doesn't work, especially doesn't work for children. It creates bizarre and sick and disgusting communities of people where kids end up being raised in isolation and completely perverted as human beings. It's a bad idea to license those kinds of relationships. Fuck that. Okay, and then, this was crazy. No death penalty, and that no crime should get you more than 15 years. Well, of course, he has exceptions for serial killers. You know, once you're making exceptions, I don't see why there's all kinds of exceptions. I mean, if we know he's a serial killer and he only killed one person, though, but we know that that's what he's going to be. Can we then keep him in jail longer than 15 years, or do we actually have to let him kill a second time? I mean, it's just stupid. And he has this idea that we should just sit there and study child molesters. I mean, what a pile of crap. We don't need to study them. We understand it. It's perfectly understandable what's happened. People create sexual deviance. You're a sexual deviant. I mean, you're into the sadomasochist crap and stuff. We have this realm of diversity that our sexuality can fall into, and so some people, it falls into this dangerous realm where they're attracted to the very wrong people. And the whole point is we understand it perfectly well. We understand they're just not allowed to act on it. It's that fucking simple. Some people get off on violence and rape. They're just not allowed to act on it. That's just their tough shit. They either go to a psychiatrist or whatever and try to moderate their impulses and moderate their desires and drives and try to reorient themselves enough to find enough satisfaction to get through their lives, but they have no right to act on it. It's the goddamn acting is the problem. It's not their sickness. It's not their deviance the problem. It's the way they act it out. So goddamn, they're fucking criminals. And why should we have patience with this kind of brokenness? Why do you have such a love affair with completely dysfunctional human beings? I mean, what the fuck is that? I mean, I've never heard you say a nice thing about a single animal's rights to do anything, and yet you'll sit there and defend broken human beings, completely broken human beings, of no useful social purpose in keeping them. They're nothing but sick, rabid animals, essentially, and you're sitting there justifying saying, yes, keep them alive for no good fucking reason whatsoever. I mean, it's just stupid. It's idiotic. It's moronic.
All right, legalizing drugs. I mean, there really has to be accountability, and so that's a key word with this legalizing drugs thing, okay? Because I say, yeah, let's legalize drugs. But there has to be strict accountability. Because, I mean, if people are going to sit there and put other people's welfare at jeopardy through their drug use, well, that's fucking unacceptable. And so there's going to have to be, you know, huge penalties, a huge accountability price to be paid, and there's maybe some invasions of privacy. I mean, some people in some jobs, they're going to have to demonstrate through blood tests or whatever else that they're not fucking around. When they show up to work, they're capable of doing their goddamn work. And they're not going to fuck up, and a crane isn't going to fall on people and kill them or some other bullshit because they've compromised their abilities because they had this freedom, you know, to use these intoxicants. And certainly alcohol is one of the worst ones already. It already exists, and we don't do enough to stop the 30,000 people that get their lives destroyed, ended. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands that have their lives ruined by injuries. So it's a bullshit, not to mention the social costs we pay. But yeah, I say legalize with accountability, because most illegal drugs are fucking not as dangerous as the goddamn legal ones, which is really fucking dumb. All right, and lastly, education. Well, yeah, I've done videos on that subject, so I'll point to that. Because, yeah, I say bullshit to it. I mean, certainly teachers' tenure, all that crap is bullshit. Union's way too strong, way too controlling. But we don't need to fire the bad teachers. We need to get rid of all the teachers. We got to get rid of the idea of shoving fucking information in kids' minds. And we've got to get to the idea that let's encourage kids, let's give them incentives to put the information in their minds, to be hungry for it. We can reward them for becoming skilled, for becoming useful, competent citizens, okay? We can pay them to do that. On average, we're paying $150,000 to get a kid through the 12th grade. I mean, fuck that bullshit. Let's directly pay them to acquire that level of knowledge and quit pretending that information and knowledge now it's still 200 years ago, where it's still locked in somebody's head and somehow you have to get it from one brain to another. You don't have to do that anymore, all right? We have the internet, we have technology, we have cable TV, we have ways of distributing information and knowledge that are infinitely more efficient than reenacting this performance art called teaching. It's just bullshit.